Yeah, there you go. I was a baby photographer for 34 years, so this is another language that you probably have forgotten already, if anybody who speaks baby. Okay. Embarrassing my son. That's all right. That's my job, isn't it? Okay, so we're going to come back from lunch. You guys, this has been great so far. We're at about 48 people. We're expecting a few more because we had a lot of people who said they were going to show up after lunch. So this should be interesting. We really, really enjoy having you here. And if you want to continue supporting Monterey County Skeptics, remember that we do have a meetup on Wednesday that is just an informal dinner at Lopez's Mexican restaurant, 7 o'clock to about 9 o'clock. We talk about North Korea, we talk about movies, we talk about our pets, we talk about skepticism, and it's informal. We do that every second Wednesday of every month. And we were hoping to do a lecture series. I also wanted to, that is something that's upcoming, please join us on Meetup and the Monterey County Skeptics, as well as the Hamba group. You can meet up on meetup.com. And on Facebook, we have a lot more discussion there. I should also mention that this is one of the smallest skeptic conferences that exist, SkeptiCamp. There's many, many more skeptic conferences that come up. There's going to be one in the Bay Area that is sponsored by the Bay Area Skeptics. Woohoo, Bay Area Skeptics! And, which I'm not a member, but I do support them on Amazon Smiles. And they are going to be doing their lecture, I believe, in June, their conference. And it's like this, but it's a little bit bigger. You know, they'll probably have 300 people, 250, 300 people up in Berkeley one day event. We do conferences, SciCon. Everybody picked up. I hope they're all going to subscribe to Skeptical Inquirer. This started out so many people in skepticism. This is just an amazing magazine. And you'll notice that I'm saying that because I'm actually, if you haven't already noticed, I have an article in here. I should have had it pulled up, but I just thought of it at the moment. But it's an obituary to Bob Carroll, one of my skeptical heroes who started Skeptic Dictionary. And it's Skeptic. It is Skeptic, D-I-C. And this is a photo I took of him at Skeptical. And if you join up our meetup group and our meetup group and our Facebook group, you will know about all these upcoming conferences because we talk about them all the time. I tend to go and speak, and I have a lot to do it. I also want to mention on page 19 that there's an article here. The first sentence, the first two words are Susan Gerbic. Yeah. So you got to be worried about any article that starts Susan Gerbic, founder of the. Then it goes on about some other stuff. It's not so important, but so. And then I am listed in the very, very back under scientific and technical consultant. So I do have documentation that I am a skeptic. So,
will you autograph our copy?
Oh yes, I'll autograph your magazines for you if you would. Yeah, that's great. So we're going to come back with, we have a full afternoon for you, and we're going to start off with Arlen, again with his misattributed quotes. We're not going to do a panel. We decided we're just going to do like we did this morning, followed by Jan. She's got a 10-minute talk about a paranormal tour in a prison that she went to. Not that she was in prison, but it was a tour she went to. Just making that clear. And then all the way from LA, well, Santa Monica, we have Kyle. And we're going to have Robin Welsh, who's organized the Judge Welsh back in the back there. Thank you, Judge Welsh. And she's going to be talking about some church and state issues that it's going to be really exciting as well. Then we're going to take another break. Leonard Trammell's going to come back, then Ben Radford, and then we're going to go to the close. So we're probably going to easily hit 5. So, that's just the way it is. And then we're going to go to have food and, relax and so on. So if you need to get more coffee or bananas or whatever, or more food, please go ahead and do so. You know the drill. Hopefully everybody's moved their cars that needed to move their cars. So, with that said, one last thing. There is going to be a huge conference that I'm always active participating in, SciCon, and you'll read about them in the Skeptical Inquirer magazine. They will be in Vegas. You always have the word baby after Vegas. Vegas baby. It'll be Vegas baby and Halloween weekend next year. So, Arlen, where are you hiding at? There you, oh, man, right in front of me. You could have bit me and bit a snake. So, Arlen is back.
Thank you, Susan. And the more I think about it, Susan has done so much work. She deserves a round of applause. But anyway, I'm back by popular demand, and well, actually, because I've scheduled, with some more quotes like we did this morning. And if you weren't here this morning, you'll get an idea what it's all about right now. So let's go on to the first quote. The war to end all wars. Your choices are Woodrow Wilson, H.G. Wells, or Winston Churchill. Well-known people, and we'll do it like we did this morning, and give you a chance to guess and see if you're right. By the way, did anybody from this morning get more than half of them right? Anybody? No? Okay. Wow, this is tougher than I thought. Okay, how many think Woodrow Wilson was the one who said this first? Okay. How many think H.G. Wells? Okay, pretty even. How about Winston Churchill? Okay, very, very mixed, very even. The actual person who said it first was H.G. Wells. On the eve of World War I, Wells published a book that was called The War That Will End War. Okay? Let's go on to the next. The next quote is, "Go west, young man, go west." You've all heard that before. We are in the West, obviously. So you all listen to this person. The choices are Horace Greeley, John Steinbeck, or General Anthony Conway. So how many people think Horace Greeley was the one who originated this? Wow, a lot of you. John Steinbeck? Not too many. And General Anthony Conway? That's a name I made up. But this was actually attributed correctly to Horace Greeley. He really did say it, and most people were right about that. So very good. Let's go on to another quote. "You're only here for a short while, so be sure and stop and smell the flowers." Your choices are Will Rogers, Walter Hagen, or Ram Dass.
Is that Haagen-Dazs there?
Hagen was actually a famous golfer, if you really want to know. And so, of those choices, who was the one that said it first? How many think Will Rogers? Okay. How many think Walter Hagen? Golfer. How many think Ram Dass? Okay, got a few for all of them. And actually, it was the famous golfer, Walter Hagen, who said that. And in his 1956 autobiography, Hagen wrote, "You're only here for a short visit. Don't hurry, don't worry, and be sure to smell the flowers along the way." Okay. Next one. "Any man who is not a socialist at age 20 has no heart. Any man who is still a socialist at age 40 has no head." And your choices are Winston Churchill, J.R. Mortensen, or Francois Gouzeau.
Whoa.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, William Buckley got switched. Okay, never mind. Anyway, that's the wrong answer. So your choices basically are Winston Churchill. How many people think Winston Churchill said it? How many think Francois Gouzeau said it? I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. All right, fairly even there. It is actually Francois Gouzeau. There are various versions of this quote attributed to many people. French historian and statesman Gouzeau has said, "Not to be a Republican at 20 is proof of want of heart. To be one at 30 is proof of want of head." So, there you go. Okay, good. "Television is chewing gum for the eyes." Mark Twain. Some of you doubt that. Aldous Huxley or John Mason Brown? How many think it's Twain? Okay, there's a few of you. How many think it's Aldous Huxley? A few. How many think John Mason Brown? Oh, I think most people got that right. It was John Mason Brown. He actually attributed the quote to a friend of his young son, but he's the one that will credit as the messenger, so yes, the answer is John Mason Brown. Who is he? Well, that's a good question, and I don't have the answer. Okay, life is what happens to you while you're making other plans. You've all probably heard that in various forms. Alan Saunders, John Lennon, or William Hardy. And how many think Alan Saunders? Okay, we got a couple here. How many think John Lennon? Okay. And how many think William Hardy? There's a mix, very even mix. And actually, the person is Alan Saunders. You've heard part of John Lennon's song, Beautiful Boy, those words were in that song, and that's probably, some of you said John Lennon, were probably thinking of that. But Alan Saunders is actually the writer of the comic strip Mary Worth, and he was given credit for saying it by Reader's Digest in 1957. So there you go. Build a better mousetrap and the world will be the path to your door. Your choices are Ralph Waldo Emerson, Benjamin Franklin, or Thomas Edison, all well-known people. How many think Emerson? How many think Ben Franklin? Okay. How many think Thomas Edison? More people, I think, thought Thomas Edison, which would be a good guess, but it's wrong. The person who said it was Ralph Waldo Emerson. A variation is found in Borrowings, a collection of sayings by members of the First Unitarian Church in Oakland, of which he participated, and which was published in 1889. Okay, a couple more here. Be nice to people on your way up, you'll meet them on your way down. Walter Winchell, R.G. Torres, or Wilson Misner? How many think Walter Winchell? Well-known name. How many think R.G. Torres? Not too many. How about Wilson Misner? You're right, William Misner. He was a playwright, a quipster. Wilson Misner was reported to be cited in the San Francisco newspaper on July the 5th, 1932. Walter Winchell used it soon after, but he attributed it to Misner, so it was Wilson Misner. And here's the final one. Give me liberty or give me death. William Wirt, Patrick Henry, or Joseph Addison? How many of you think it might be William Wirt? Nobody's going for that one. How about Patrick Henry? How about Joseph Addison? Surprisingly, it is William Wirt. Apparently apocryphal, reconstructed by biographer William Wirt from the recollection of two of Patrick Henry's contemporaries. Also, Joseph Addison's 1713 play Cato included the lines, "It is now a time to talk about but chains or conquest, liberty or death." So actually the answer, William Wirt, surprisingly enough. So there you go. Thank you.
That's always a lot of fun to have these. And it kind of fits with the theme that we didn't realize that we had a theme, but it's kind of a little bit about fake news a little bit, so it's kind of just fits in there. Okay, so our next speaker is going to be talking about paranormal tours she took in prison. This is Jan Wachtel, and she is a was a family psychologist here in Monterey County for many years, and she is a major cat lover, and she has an extensive collection of shoes. You must check out her shoes. She always comes out with the most amazing shoes. Jan also assisted me in the 2014 investigation of psychic grief vampire Chip Coffey, I've written about this investigation under the title Operation Bumblebee. You can Google that. Jan played the part of a grieving sister of Linda, who died in Tower 2 in the 9/11 attacks. And I think Jan might have a career in acting waiting for her if she chooses. And she will be giving us a short talk about her experiences attending a ghost tour in the Missouri State Penn. And it's her birthday.
And thank you very much for having me. But among my many talents, PowerPoint probably isn't one of them. So bear with me. I've been wanting to tell this story. I call this my paranormal lockdown. I plagiarized the title from a series that's currently running on the television. 2 tours of the Missouri State Penitentiary, October 3rd and 4th. I actually decided to take 2 tours. And by the way, I paid $25 for the paranormal tour and $14 for the history tour, which tells you something. Let's see, next one. It's not up. There it is. Okay, that's the Missouri State Prison. That's where you first arrive at that front door to take your tour. Missouri State Prison or Penitentiary opened in 1836 and closed in 2004. So as you see, it's starting to fall into disrepair. And some of the famous inmates, they did house women, a few women, same time were Emma Goldman, the anarchist, James Earl Ray, the killer of Martin Luther King was there, Sonny Liston, the boxer, served about 5 years for armed robbery, Pretty Boy Floyd, Bob Verdello, who you probably haven't heard of, but my guide liked to talk to you about because he was one of the famous inmates. He was sort of a Jeffrey Dahmer type from Kansas City, Missouri. John Firebug Johnson, who served 18 years in solitary confinement. And Bonnie Heady and Carl Austin Hall, you may not have heard about, but they committed a very gruesome murder of a child, and they were executed together side by side in the gas chamber. Missouri State Penitentiary is known as the bloodiest 47 acres because they had a lot of riots and general mayhem, and there were 40 executions there between 1938 and 1989. 39 were in the gas chamber, and 1 was lethal injection. Okay, it's widely recognized as a haunted venue. It's featured on Ghost Hunters, the Sci-Fi Channel, Ghost Adventures, the Travel Channel. It has its own documentary called Apparitional. And if you look on the internet, it's on lots of haunted places to visit. It's reported to be the subject of over 100 paranormal investigations, and there's a growing body of anecdotal accounts of incidents reported on the internet and YouTube. And so, I asked you if you were going to be there taking one of these tours, would you be a believer, a skeptic, or a sucker?
A what?
A sucker.
So you can't just be a doubter?
That's a skeptic.
How about a disbeliever?
Okay, I'll put that on my next presentation. So, I found out that the penitentiary is open to the public almost all months except January and February, and they offer a variety of tours. They have history tours, 2 hours or 3 hours, and then they have paranormal tours, a lot more than history tours. You can take. I took the 2-hour history tour at night from 8 to 10, and then the next day a history tour from 1 to 3. But you can also take a 3-hour ghost hunt tour, a 3-hour ghost class, I don't know what that is. You do a 5-hour investigation or an 8-hour overnight investigation. And the investigations, you get to check out special equipment, which is some sort of infrared stuff, I don't know what it is. And for both the history and all the ghost stuff, you have to sign a waiver and release of information. They also have gift shop, but it's not open at night. And And you may wonder, how did I end up in prison? Susan, I was in prison. And the reason is, it was on my bucket list to take the mule ride at the Grand Canyon from the top of the South Rim down to the bottom. And generally, you have to wait about a year to do that. And on a whim in August, I called them and asked them if they had any openings, said they did about 2 weeks later. So I went to the Grand Canyon in September and had to be at my sister's house in October, and I decided not to come home. So I just stayed on the road and did a bunch of crazy stuff, and that's how I ended up in the penitentiary. And in the gift shop, you could have your picture taken. So that's me, and it says, just doing time. Okay, so you start your tour here in what would have been the control setting of the prison, and that's where everybody waits to start the tour, daytime or nighttime. And if you've been in prison, this would have been some of your friends while you were there, and that was my guide, who was a retired guard who was there for like 25 some years, and he just loved the history of the prison, and he was a great guy. He had all kinds of stories and things to talk about. And this is the yard, and that's the porta potty. They don't even have functioning bathrooms anymore, so it was nothing luxurious, believe me. And that's one of the buildings, that is the building where the cell blocks were like 4 feet high, four tiers high, and that's also the building where I'll show you later they had the dungeon cells. So a general tour, whether you take a ghost tour or a history tour, you generally see the control area. You see 2 main buildings. You see that one. You see another one where they have also cell blocks, and that's the one where they had a big riot in 1954 where 2 prisoners faked being sick, overpowered the guards and took their keys. Everybody got out and set the place on fire and killed a couple of people. And I think that's where the bloodiest 47 acres name came from. And then you have to drive to it about 4 blocks away, and you get to see the gas chamber. But the nighttime tour, the so-called ghost tour, they don't give you a lot of history. It's dark. I didn't have my camera at night. My only high-tech tool was a flashlight. And what you're doing for the ghost tour is you're told you don't know what's going to happen. You're prepped in the beginning with the idea that many strange things happen there. You know, if you're lucky on your tour, something will happen. And you're prepped in the beginning with a story of, what's been happening recently. You're told that your best tools are your senses. So pay attention, because you never know what may happen, and trust your senses, because, if you think something is happening, it probably is.
Did anything happen?
I'll get to that. Okay, so there's my guide again, and this is what I told him was my favorite part of the tour. That is the monument to Mike the cat, who was a prison cat. He told a story about how he hated cats, and he hated Mike the cat, and they killed all the cats at the prison except Mike, and the prisoners were allowed to put the memorial to Mike the cat.
Wait. If they killed, if they killed all the other cats except Mike, why does Mike have a burial marker?
Mike was special.
But then he died anyway.
Well, everybody knows. Okay, so there's a display from inside the prison for the double execution, which must have been, Bonnie and Carl. we died together. Okay, and here's a picture of the, some of the cells, and so you imagine when it's dark, and part of the ghost tour is that, what little lights they have, they turn off the lights and give you a chance to, look around, and you go into the cells and see what might be going on. And here from the daytime tour, they show you, some of the knives or shanks, that they call them, that they would confiscate from the prisoners. Here in the building, the dungeon building, they actually have a cardboard cutout of Sonny Liston, who was one of the prisoners. And this is the long hallway from that same building. And you go all the way down that hallway and go downstairs to where the dungeons are. And you can't imagine what it's like when it's dark. And they turn out all the lights, and they let you go up, and you can go all the way up the stairs to, I think, the 3rd tier. They won't let you go all the way up to the top. And you hear things. Mostly what you hear is other people walking around. Okay, and here's the picture of the guy, John Firebug Johnson, who spent 18 years in the hall, and he actually wrote a book about it, which you can buy on Amazon, and that's the same picture, the double execution. And when they take you down to the dungeon, and you go down the hall, and you go into a room, and it's going to be all dark. The walls to the dungeon is going to be extremely thick. It has a straw floor, and nothing in it except, I get, a pot to piss in, and they let you go in there, and they close the door on you for a couple minutes, and so you can imagine what that's like.
Were those the solitary cells? Those were the cells for
Oh, yeah.
solitary confinement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now what they call ad-sig. And, okay, so there's another long, dark hallway, and then at the end of the tour, you get in your car, you have to drive about 4 blocks, and there's the gas chamber, and there's a double gas chamber.
No way.
Well, they only did one at a time, except for the 2 that wanted to go together. And there it is again. Okay, and this will be somebody's picture, me in the gas chamber. Okay, so these are the kinds of paranormal occurrences people report. Queasy feelings, sense of demonic presence, shadows, whispers in their ear, their hair being played with, doors slamming when no one is present, tight feelings around their head, noises, voices, chairs moving, feelings of being touched. And at one time they had us all kind of gather in a circle and all be quiet and say, oh, is anything happening? And somebody's going, yeah, I feel something. And so, then when we left, we all were sort of told, yeah, we had a really special experience, something actually happened on our tour. So
Those are all the same signs as marriage.
Thank you for pointing that out. And so, this is my explanation of how do they do it. And it all sort of came to the letter S. They set the scene, and it's a prison. It's dark, it's dirty, it's, scary. Who wants to go there? It's the setting, They tell you stories. It's haunted. Things happen here. We know it. It's all happened before. It's the power of suggestion. What kind of place is this? You're here on a ghost tour. It's a social experience. You're here with other people here for the same reason. It's social empowerment. You have the tools. Your best tools are your brain, your senses. You can do it. Other people just like you can do it. There's sounds. These are empty cells. There's people walking around. You don't know what you're hearing. And you're special. You came here. You paid good money. The more you pay, the more invested you are, because you're going to get something out of it. And you want to be one of those people that had the experiences. And my own extra answer, you're a sucker. And I forgot until a couple of days ago when I was putting this together that they took our picture at the end. We got a group picture.
Wow.
It was like 10 o'clock at night. I was exhausted. I'd driven 5 hours earlier that day from someplace in Arkansas. and I had to find myself in there. But where's the laser printer, the laser beam here? There I am
Oh.
in my picture. And here's some of the comments. Oh my, yet another excited ghost troop tour. People saying, we had a blast and good photos, some great activity. We will see you all again. We will definitely be back for an 8-hour tour. And in answer to your question, what happened on my tour? Nothing. I had a good time. But I came back the next day, and the day tour was much better. My conclusion, the facts, the truth, are much better. And it's a money-making thing. It's fun. But, you know, I asked them on the, there was our tour guide. There she is. Who are some of the people that might be haunting the prison? If you have so many famous inmates, so many horrible, violent people. And I was told, oh, we don't get any names. There were so many inmates. I mean, at its highest capacity, the prison had 5,200 inmates, when its capacity was maybe a quarter of that. We don't get any names. There were so many inmates, we don't know who they would be. I figure if it was such a hard place, once you get out, dead or alive, why would you come back? But there's nothing specific, nothing at all. So, you know, the bottom line for me is nothing happened, and the real stuff was much better than anything anybody made up. Yes.
If I just, this is was a state prison, so it's being run by the state of Missouri, this money-making mention?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was fun, you know, it was really interesting, the real stuff, you know, if you like that sort of thing. But the other stuff is just, you know, it's BS. Yes.
All right, here in California, we have Alcatraz, that's, I guess, considered a state park. Is this like a state park for them?
It's a tourist attraction. I also went, you know, think, you know, this is strange, but so, to the Idaho State Penitentiary.
Whoa.
For a tour.
Doubling up.
Yeah. And now, they don't have the ghost tours. But I asked, you know, my tour guide there if there was any paranormal activity there. And he told me, yes, they do have people come in and do investigations.
Which is different from if there's paranormal activity.
Yeah, but they don't, you know, run the revenue-making activity there.
All right. Quite interesting. I think that maybe the ghosts there were probably the cats.
Oh, and the Idaho State Penitentiary has a cat too, his name